burglars, it's unusual.
You know the name of the council?
I don't know. Some country club type.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're breaking down conspiracy theories that later turned out to be much more than just theories.
The Public Health Service had started a massive screening to find people who had syphilis, and an even more massive roundup to try to get them in.
The Iran-Contra Affair.
For the past 3 months, I've been silent on the revelations about Iran. And you must have been thinking, well, why doesn't he tell us what's happening? Why doesn't he just speak to us as he has in the past when we've faced troubles or tragedies? Others of you, I guess, were thinking, what's he doing hiding out in the White House?
Who knew that quietly selling arms to then embargoed Iran would come back to bite the administration of President Ronald Reagan? Arguably the messiest, most explosive political scandal of the 1980s, the Iran-Contra Affair was such a PR blunder for the U.S. government that Reagan was forced to take full responsibility for it on live television in 1987. And that's not once, but twice.
I paid a price for my silence in terms of your trust and confidence. But I've had to wait, as you have, for the complete story. That's why I appointed Ambassador David Abshire as my special counselor to help get out the thousands of documents to the various investigations. And I appointed a special review board.
Although 2 separate investigations cleared Reagan of wrongdoing, the whistle was blown on multiple other participants in the scandal, such as Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. North's involvement was partially exposed by journalist John Maddies, who reported it to Massachusetts Senator and future Democratic presidential nominee John Kerry.
What began as a strategic opening to Iran deteriorated in its implementation into trading arms for hostages. This runs counter to my own beliefs, to administration policy, and to the original strategy we had in mind. There are reasons why it happened, but no excuses.
PG&E, Chromium-6, and Erin Brockovich.
Hi.
Hi.
Donna Jensen?
Yes?
I'm Erin Brockovich with Masri and Vidito.
Oh! You're a lawyer?
Hell no. I hate lawyers. I just work for them.
A number of entries on our list today were adapted for the screen after coming to nationwide prominence. But the unbelievable true story of plucky paralegal Erin Brockovich, that blew up after it had been made the subject of director Steven Soderbergh's Oscar-winning biopic starring Julia Roberts.
I don't mean to be a pain in PG&E's backside, especially after all they've done for Hinckley, but I look around here and I think if they want this place, they're going to have to pay for it.
So you didn't put the house up for sale. They just came to you and wanted to buy it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't want to move. Uproot the kids?
For the uninitiated, Brockovich was an unemployed single mother who, after finding work at a law firm, uncovered a sinister conspiracy involving widespread mysterious illness in Hinckley, California. After some digging, it became clear that the Pacific Gas and Electric Company was responsible for the health issues. The result of drinking water contaminated with hexavalent chromium. Not only that, but PG&E had successfully covered the conspiracy up for years. You go, Erin.
Would it be important to you if I told you that when I worked at the Hinckley plant, I destroyed documents?
Maybe. What did you say your name was?
Charles Embry.
Charles. Erin.
Nice to meet you.
The truth about tobacco.
What are those boxes?
I'm going to the store. You need anything?
What do you need at the store?
Soy sauce.
Right now?
That's my stuff from the office.
Well, why did you take your stuff from the office?
I didn't want to leave it there.
I don't understand.
I got fired this morning.
We hope this goes without saying, but smoking poses a significant risk to your health, and it's probably best to avoid picking it up altogether. However, if it were up to tobacco industry insiders, lobbyists, and more, you wouldn't know that at all in the first place.
I'm a producer with 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes?
Yeah.
60 Minutes, a television show?
Yes.
He doesn't want to talk to you.
How does he know he doesn't want to talk to me? He doesn't know what I'm calling him about.
He doesn't care to know.
Director Michael Mann's 1999 biopic The Insider depicts the trials of whistleblower Jeffrey Wigand, who, according to the National Library of Medicine, quote, could recite the damnable facts as a former high school level executive, end quote. Wiegand wasn't the first whistleblower to go public. That would be Deep Cough, a code name for a former R.J. Reynolds employee who accused the tobacco industry of denying nicotine's addictiveness.
We worked together for, what was it, 3 years? Now, the work we did here is confidential, not for public scrutiny, any more than our one's family matters.
You're threatening my family now, too?
Now, don't be paranoid, Jeff. About the direction of research here, we may have had our differences of opinion.
Research? You declare as a badge of honor you don't even know what makes water boil.
Dreyfus Affair.
He was utterly patriotic. He was absorbed with the idea of being an officer, and an officer as a man of honor. He was a dedicated military man. He saw himself first as a Frenchman and only secondarily as a Jew.
Sometimes, pulling on a tiny, loose thread can lead to an earth-shattering unraveling. Case in point, the legendary Dreyfus Affair, in which 35-year-old French artillery officer Captain Alfred Dreyfus was baselessly convicted of treason. In this case, selling out the French military to Germany.
That a spy should be found, that a spy should be arrested, is already a sensational piece of news. That this spy should be Jewish, a Jewish captain in the Holy of Holies, the General Staff, is even hotter news.
The scandal unfolded over the course of a decade, from 1894 to 1906. Evidence that would have exonerated Dreyfus was uncovered in 1896, but was suppressed by the military. French writer Émile Zola's article J'accuse, an open letter to French President Félix Faure, yielded a groundswell of public support for Dreyfus. Dreyfus, whose politicized railroading was attributed to anti-Semitism, was eventually reinstated to the military and made lieutenant colonel.
The Dreyfus Affair, at its best, means standing up against oppression, standing up against the wrong, being willing to risk for what is right. And for those people who did it and wound up freeing Dreyfus, it was a great thing. And for most people, it was the greatest thing they ever did in their lives.
Gulf of Tonkin incident.
And we took the view when that occurred that that might have been the action of trigger-happy local commanders and did not represent a governmental policy on the part of North Vietnam. And so we tended to disregard that attack.
This is one incident that the United States government would probably like you to forget about. Its authenticity and subsequent conspiratorial cover-up were brought into question even at the time in 1964. Essentially, 2 Marine skirmishes between U.S. and North Vietnamese forces in August of that year led to a significant escalation in the Vietnam War.
Well, as I recall it, he had me and a number of the committee down at the White House and told him about this terribly unprovoked attack. We were very peaceably going about our business and all without provocation. They attacked us, sent out these gunboats, and surrounded us and shelled, and they even had a little shell.
The problem? The second of these face-offs never happened, and due to faulty intel, led the U.S. to become increasingly involved in the conflict. In 2005, NSA historian Robert J. Hanlick revealed the damning conclusion that the NSA had intentionally tampered with evidence to justify putting American boots on the ground in North Vietnam.
It was about as close to a declaration of war as one could get. That started us down the long road of Vietnam.
Pentagon Papers.
I just had an odd conversation with Bob McNamara, and I think the Times may have a big story tomorrow.
Damn it.
You know, he wouldn't give me any details, but Bob said it was quite detrimental to him.
In case you hadn't already guessed it, the Vietnam War was a messy, deeply embarrassing period in American history. But the fact of the matter is that the public and even members of Congress were largely unaware of the extent of the U.S. government's lies and deceit.
Nothing else of interest in the world? Yes, sir. Very significant. This goddamn New York Times expose of the most highly classified documents of the war.
You mean that was leaked out of the Pentagon?
The whole study that was done for McNamara, this is a devastating security breach.
This prequel to the infamous Watergate Scandal, don't worry, more on that later, found military analyst Daniel Ellsberg blowing the whistle on the government. That is to say, Ellsberg leaked the Pentagon Papers, which broke down the United States' involvement in Vietnam in painstaking detail, to the New York Times. The resulting fallout saw Ellsberg charged with and later acquitted of theft and conspiracy.
Are these part of the pages of the McNamara study?
Where did you get these? Somebody left them on my desk. On your desk? I didn't. It was a woman.
What?
A woman?
We got over 100
woman.
pages of the McNamara study
A
here.
hippie woman. She had one of those.
Hey, Debbie, give me a back dick here.
But it's one of those skirts.
He's
that looks
he's
like
out.
they're,
He's went
swirling and colored.
somewhere.
And,
I don't.
Probably between 5'4"
Well,
and
listen,
5'6".
these are the real thing.
Oh, she's.
We are back in the ballgame.
COINTELPRO.
Any black leader with charisma was a target of the government's COINTELPRO program. And that's stated in their own objectives of the program.
Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you?
This series of illegal operations executed by the FBI was intended to subvert organizations and individuals that were deemed potential threats to American security. The targets of COINTELPRO included, but were not limited to, anti-Vietnam War protesters, the American Communist Party, and Martin Luther King Jr.
We can step back from it and say, regardless of their success, whether they were the ones who pulled the trigger, this gives us an idea of what their intent was, what they were willing to do, what their political viewpoint was, and what ends, and what unconstitutional and violent ends they were willing to adopt and use.
Officially occurring from 1956 to 1971, COINTELPRO used down and dirty and strictly off-the-books tactics against its victims, such as falsified documents and unlawful surveillance. The top-secret program was unearthed in 1971 by the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI, leading to its almost immediate disbandment. However, evidence suggests that the Bureau has continued to employ many of the illicit methods from the COINTELPRO era.
To kill the brother because he had began to take meaningful steps towards gaining the freedom for his people. He was taking steps to internationalize the black man's struggle and to take it to the United Nations, to take it diplomatically to the other countries around the world.
Tuskegee Study.
Did they tell you you had syphilis?
Nothing like that. They'd do that and draw my blood. We'll see you next time. And that's it.
Brace yourself. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study is one of the most heinous chapters in not only American history, but human history as a whole. The experiment began in 1932 and was administered by the Public Health Service and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Carried out in collaboration with the historically black Tuskegee University, the study aimed to observe the effects of untreated syphilis.
We have no compunction about sending our youth away to war when it's in the national interest. And in terms of syphilis, was the leading cause of infant maternal mortality, leading single cause of admission to mental hospitals, and many other things. So it was in the national interest to get the information so that you could provide the greatest protection for the entire community, black and white.
The PHS did not disclose the diagnosis of its 600 participants to them and prescribed risky, experimental, and often harmful treatments. Initially set to last just 6 months, the experiment was only shut down 4 decades later, when journalistic leaks resulted in its abrupt cancellation.
I have now strong feelings that more should have been done, and that perhaps we should have had an American Nuremberg trial of the conduct of the Tuskegee experiment.
MKUltra.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. This Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD. It was horrible.
Oh, you thought the FBI had gotten up to some shady stuff in the 20th century? Allow us to introduce you to the Central Intelligence Agency. The goal of MKUltra, which was named arbitrarily so as to maintain the program's secrecy, was to engineer new methods of torture via the use of powerful psychoactive drugs that would weaken a detainee's resolve.
It was the most secret program ever conducted by the CIA in the United States. Patients at psychiatric hospitals, prisoners in federal institutions, and even people in the public were given drugs without their awareness or consent and experimented upon.
Broadly condemned in the years since as a blatant violation of human rights, MKUltra records were ordered destroyed in the wake of Watergate. It's coming, we swear. However, some were later recovered, and the Church Committee revealed the program's existence in 1975 following a 1974 New York Times report.
The CIA knew that it was breaking, every moral, ethical, and legal law in the books to do these experiments.
They all were behind it. They all knew what they were doing, but they weren't doing it out of care or love. They were doing it out of military and political reasons.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Watergate Scandal.
White House.
Howard Hunt, please.
Mr. Hunt isn't here just now. He might be in Mr. Colson's office. I'll connect you.
Thank you.
See, we told you it was coming. After all, how could we not include perhaps the most damning American political transgression of all time? One that yielded the most recent resignation of a U.S. president to date?
Did you know Howard Hunt? Didn't he work in the office?
I knew Howard.
Nice.
He's a nice person. He's secretive. He's secretive, but a decent man.
Do you have any idea what he did?
Well, the White House said he was doing some investigative work.
What do you say?
While you likely already know the broad strokes of this baffling saga, we'll quickly run through it again. A botched break-in to the Democratic National Committee headquarters in June 1972 revealed a deep-running surveillance operation tied directly to President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. The scandal may very well have gone unnoticed if not for the vital work of journalists Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, whose writing for the Washington Post led to the president's resignation.
The indictments that came down from the grand jury today stop with the 5 burglars, Hunt and Liddy.
Carl, we have got to go back there and get that bookkeeper to say who the names are and not initials.
Well, she ain't gonna give it to you because I was with the woman for 6 hours.
We're gonna try.
Well, then you're gonna have to trick her, threaten her. She's not gonna do it.
Which conspiracy on our list shocked you the most? Are there any we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.
If we may sound a little grim, we might say that we are looking forward to a rich harvest of some 200 autopsies in the next 5 to 10 years.